Hello, I'm Lauren Brantley Books, and I am here today to review Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. In Parable of the Sower, Lauren Olamina is a 15-year-old girl growing up in an isolated community in post-apocalyptic America. She has a psychotic condition called hyperempathy syndrome, which causes her to experience the pain and pleasure of other people. Lauren grows up in troubled times. America has fallen into decay, and in the broken nation, people struggle to get by. The great cities of the past are in ruins. The streets are lined with the unhoused. Crimes through the roof, and social services like the fire department are no longer free. Water is scarce, especially because it seldom rains due to climate change. Lauren's community is peaceful but always on the verge of destruction. The gate wall that surrounds the community can only hold back so much. The story starts with 15-year-old Lauren leaving her community to go to a church to be baptized in her father's Baptist faith. Her father is the preacher of her community, and people cling to his sermons as one of the few comforts in this cruel world. Lauren, however, has some different ideas about God. That God's not a being in heaven, but instead God is the concept of change. She eventually comes to the name of this new religion and calls it Earthseed, and begins to write a book about Earthseed called The Book of the Living. Later on, Lauren's younger brother Keith starts sneaking out from the gated community and gets mixed up with the wrong people. This eventually cost him his life. America is so broken and impoverished that foreign countries are buying up cities to use for cheap labor and cheap land. One such city is Olivar, which is bought by a Japanese-French-Canadian company. One of the families in Lauren's hometown moves out to Olivar, taking her best friend Joanne with them. Lauren's dad wholly opposes Olivar, seeing it as a trap for people to lose their freedom to colonial powers. Soon after, Lauren's dad disappears. He simply doesn't come home from work one day. Despite an exhaustive search, he is never found and is presumed dead. Not long after that, one of the neighborhood homes burns down. Lauren talked with her boyfriend Curtis about potentially leaving the neighborhood to look for a livelihood somewhere else, but state lines are barred to outsiders. Trying to leave California for another state could get them killed. Then, not long after that, terrorists invade Lauren's neighborhood and burn it to the ground. Her family is killed by the terrorists along with most of the community. Lauren manages to escape and leaves the ruins of her neighborhood with her neighbors Zara and Harry. They travel the California freeways going north to find a place to live in this harsh world. They meet several other refugees heading north, and Lauren teaches these new arrivals about Earthseed. Lauren wants to establish an Earthseed community somewhere in the north where things will hopefully be better than they are now. The most eerie thing about the world of Parable of the Sower is how applicable it is to today's society. We, in many regards, live in a dystopian capitalist hellscape, and even though this book came out in the 80s, it's a glimpse into a very possible near future. Lauren's world has collapsed into a dystopia, where there's still a government, but the land is lawless. What's left of Lauren's world is a capitalist hellscape where the everyday person is left to fend for themselves. What ultimately helps Lauren survive in this harsh world is community. During her journey from her ruined hometown, she meets several other travelers, all looking for a better, safer, more stable place to settle. Lauren meets these people through acts of kindness, like helping a couple recover a stolen possession or helping two sisters who are trapped under rubble. These people come together and begin to form their own community. It's a community that this world is sorely lacking. In a world where everyone is pitted against each other, finding community is the first step to healing this broken world. The government, social services, and the rich can't be depended on. In this world, they are agents of capitalism intent only on serving themselves. But the power of community can weather through the harsh and unrelenting world is evidenced by the end of Lauren's journey when she establishes her first Earthsea community. It's a small start, but a beacon of hope that the people of this dystopian world can suddenly become a community again. The ending ultimately shows that the world has a long way to go before things can get better, but we end on an unmistakable note of hope. Lauren has succeeded in establishing community, one with an uncertain future, but with hope nonetheless. Religion is also put under the spotlight. Lauren's journey ultimately begins when she begins to pull away from the Baptist faith of her father's church. Religion is shown to be a binding force in communities, giving a sense of shared purpose and practices. As Lauren moves further away from the church of her childhood and develops her own belief system in Earthseed, she begins to consider what is important to life. She comes up with the idea that her religion will be focused on change. Lauren fixates on the concept of change. She considers her idea of God to be change itself. In this dystopian hellscape that she lives in, it makes sense that she wouldn't be attracted to the idea of a Christian God who is essentially a celestial father. This is especially true since Lauren's own father is the pastor. Rejecting his faith is also her way of expressing her individuality. Lauren is a teenager throughout most of the book, and Earthseat represents her growing individuality and independence. Considering all the violence that happens to Lauren and the people around her, it paints a pretty big picture of humanity. The people of Lauren's world are desperate. This desperation leads people to commit acts of violence. The author doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of human nature. We see characters kill, sexually assault people, including minors, steal, commit arson, and even engage in cannibalism. But at the same time, these brutal depictions are contrasted with scenes of community. Lauren's hometown is a hard-working community that supports one another through the hard times. When Lauren loses this community and is left with nothing but her belief in Earthseed and her wits, she ultimately creates a new community of her own through kindness. In the end, despite how bleak things may be, community is still possible in these troubled times. Lauren's journey ultimately reminds us that community can be found even in the most dire circumstances. Parable of the Sower is necessary reading. It is a startling look at a future that feels all too real in the dystopian capitalist hellscape that we already live in. I highly recommend it, and I definitely will be checking out the sequel. On a sadder note, Octavia Butler sadly passed away before completing the Parable series. There was a second book, Parable of the Talents, but the third volume was never made. Still, I'm just glad we have the books that we have. Octavia Butler was a gifted writer, and we lost her all too soon. I am Lauren Brantley Books, and thank you for listening to my review of Parable of the Sower. If you've read this book before, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. If you want to hear more reviews from me, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be notified about future videos. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next review. Bye!